Hey everybody. Now I've been seeing absolutely everywhere this week to get your flu shot. You absolutely must get your flu shot this week. And one thing I'm going to say is I'm not an anti-vaxxer. My children are vaccinated, and for a while I did postpone until corrupt governance was removed from my nation, because I did not have any faith in the scientific community, seeing as our scientists were silenced to speak out on anything at one point. Yes, this is a thing, and if you would like to know more, there is a link in the description down below detailing what happened. Now, getting back to this topic, first place I heard it was actually on, here.
1,000 people died from the flu last season. And that's an incredibly large number. According to CDC.gov, in recent years, influenza-associated deaths in the US range from a low of 12,000 to a high of 56,000. Now, as far as why we saw such a huge spike is the H3N2 virus, and that specific flu virus is reportedly harder to prevent with the flu vaccine. And last year, according to a study, the vaccine only had a combined effectiveness of around 33%. But still, even with all of that said, consider this your friendly reminder to get a flu shot. Even if this year's flu vaccine, the effectiveness rate against H3N2 is not stellar, it will offer you better protections against the other flu viruses that are out there right now, and according to the AP, health officials have said that the flu that has been detected is a milder strain, and early signs are that the vaccine is shaping up to be a good match. But then also adding, we don't know what's going to happen, but we're seeing more encouraging signs than we were early last year. But ultimately where I want to end this story is just to get out into the world. It is better to be safe than sorry. If you've not gotten your flu shot yet, get it. And it's not just me saying that, it is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention saying anyone over 6 months old, get it. If you have most any insurance, there is a place where you can get your flu shots for free. Additionally, the county health departments will give out free flu shots to the elderly and children, sometimes even giving it out to just regular adults. Or if you just have no coverage and there is no free place near you, you can go to a place like a CVS where it's going to cost you around $40, or, and this is, I don't know if this is a secret, if you go to Costco, members and non-members only have to pay $19.99. And I guess really with that, the final note of this story is I've given you the information, I've given you the options, and now if you act on it and you get the flu shot and you live, whereas in another...
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, Phil. I appreciate your time. It's just I had seen other articles popping up as well, which I do not have. Now, we'll get back to this later, because what I want to talk about right here is a viral video that my science-loving buddies had posted, which had me very curious to what we're doing with our science.
So what we ended up building was basically a petri dish, except that it's 2 feet by 4 feet. And the way we set it up is that there are 9 bands, and at the base of each of these bands, we put a normal petri dish thick agar with different amounts of antibiotic. On the outside, there's no antibiotic. Just in from that, there's barely more than the E. coli can survive. Inside of that, there's 10 times as much, 100 times, and then finally the middle band has 1,000 times as much antibiotic. And then across the top of it, pour some thin agar that bacteria can move around in. The background is black because there's ink in it, and the bacteria appear as white. First, you see they spread in the area where there's no antibiotic, up until the point they can no longer survive. Then a mutant appears on the right. It's resistant to the antibiotic, it spreads, until it starts to compete with other mutants around it.
So we're mutating.
When these mutants hit the next boundary, they too have to pause and develop new mutations to make it into 10 times as much antibiotic.
But you're giving them a chance to evolve slowly.
And then you see the different mutants repeat this at 100.
Because you understand how bacteria and science works. So you're doing it in a sense that you're allowed.
And after about 11 days, they finally make it into 1,000 times as much antibiotic as the wild type can survive. And so we can see by this process of accumulating successive mutations that bacteria, which are normally sensitive to an antibiotic, can evolve resistance to extremely high concentrations in a short period of time.
Yes. You gave them the conditions to evolve in. Why did you give them the conditions to evolve in if you don't want to create it? Unless something else is happening. Now, let's go back to history. And what was said was that the Native Americans died of smallpox. But there is enough evidence, a lot of evidence, if you get back into the written to show that this was a planned event for depopulation. I don't know if I'll play this video for you, but that is a known thing, and it's one of the parts of history that is just so disgusting that we could take our knowledge of science and abuse it against people the same way we take our knowledge about religion and faith and abuse it against people because they can't read. They don't know that they are God. They don't know that they are part of God. And so you have it so only few people think that they can speak to God, even though it says directly, if you can read it, that there is nobody between God and you, that you should only call God your Father, that you shouldn't be calling anybody else. Kind of stupid, isn't it? And for a lot of people today, religion is stupid. I understand these feelings and sentiments. Seeing how it's been abused to do horrible things to people, I completely understand. However, in contrast, I have similar feelings about science. And from what I just seen in that video that I shared with you, is a direct observation that this is being misused. And if we truly wanted our world to prosper, we wouldn't be doing that. We'd be cleaning up Flint, Michigan's water. We'd be giving clean water to every child in this world. We wouldn't be making money off of horrible acts and atrocities. We would be keeping children safe, happy, with good ability to thrive and not have to play a class game of who can do what because they can afford it. Flu vaccines so often fail because they don't know what the strand is going to be. Now, unless they know what the strand is going to be, which then you have to ask, why do you know what the strand is going to be? We need to question all of these practices that we have today, and our morals, are they aligned with it? A lot of people believe in Darwinism. A lot of people regard science as their religion. They use logic. I would love to hold a debate with any of these people to say that we are stardust. Out of billions of years of evolution, against all odds we exist, that we are conscious beings capable of taking information, learning from that information, evolving from that information. Now, whether or not we choose to be aligned with the virus or we choose to be aligned with the healing solution to the virus, that remains to be seen. And like I said, I've never been an anti-vaxxer. I have held my reservation against vaccinations after seeing many stories that had me go, well, that might be worth discussing. But you do see a lot of pushback against even questioning these processes. They are without a doubt absolutely the only reason why illness has stopped. And I disagree. Nutrition is a huge reason why we no longer have these illnesses in our society. Much like sailors used to be crossing the ocean, if they didn't have vitamin C, they could easily get scurvy. We didn't know about nutrition until the past, we're going to say 100 years, because we didn't have the science to understand how food affected us, what we needed in our diets to help our cells reproduce successfully, to create new cells. Since then, we have had a much better increase of boosting the effectiveness of our immune system through the things that we eat, which allows us to be stronger against illness. But nobody's crediting this. Nobody's saying, okay, well, we shouldn't probably be eating all this food with all this stuff in it that's really, really toxic to us. And even so, you have campaigns that are underplaying the toxicity of these things. Could you imagine a human race if we actually were aware of what is good and what is bad, instead of it all just being a big giant blur of, I don't want to call it propaganda, but the focus really is to make money. Period. If anything's root is to make money, question the fuck out of it. Thank you.